Here at Twinrocker, every time we dip the mold, we're making paper to spec. And that's really what separates a professional paper maker from somebody, an amateur paper maker, or somebody that's doing something as a hobby. I could take any one of you and have you making this paper in an hour. But every time we dip this mold, we're shooting for a specific thickness. The thickness of this paper is going to be 10 to 12 thousandths of an inch thick when it's dry. So I have to know by the thickness of the vat, when I dip the mold, how much pulp I actually have on the mold, how much do I need to throw off. And when it's drained, it's going to be 3/16 of an inch thick. I have to know that after that's pressed and dried, it's going to be 10 to 12 thousandths thick in the drying room. So I'm making 300 sheets of this for this order, and my margin of error is 1,000th in either direction. So 10 to 12 is the margin of error. And really, that control over thickness is really what takes a long time to learn, because you see it here at 3/16 of an inch thick on the mold. It's not going to be dry for another week where you can actually see the result of what you made. So other than me telling you that's too thick or too thin, you know, it takes a long time to get that experience and frame of reference to understand. And every pulp, we can take this same pulp and beat it for an hour, and it behaves this way on the mold. We can beat it for an hour and a half, and now it holds more water, it's swollen more, it looks thicker, but because the thickness is water, because the fiber is swollen more, it's actually thinner. So within each, every time we change papers or change color formulas or fiber content, there's a whole new learning curve or everything really changes, because the fiber itself is holding more or less water. You know, when it looks like it's a 1/4 inch thick, depending on how swollen the fiber is, really depends on the finished thickness. So I'm going to dip the mold. I'm going to throw a controlled wave of pulp off the front of the mold. That's how I'm going to control the thickness. Then I'm going to shake the mold in 2 directions, get everything smooth and even. Everything in paper making, as far as cooching, is related to drainage time and water. Once enough water is drained off the fiber, I can remove the decal, and everything stays in place. Once enough water is drained, I can turn it over.
This is very different from what you guys learned, because it's got such a buildup of material, and it just deposits the fiber by rolling it. It's really a depositing action here.
Yeah, each sheet has to be cooched exactly on the one underneath it as I'm building this post. As you can see, where there's no pulp under the felt, there's a steep drop off. And if I cooch a 1/2 inch one way or the other, the pulp will just wash off the hill and just fracture the sheet.
It is advantageous to build up a pretty big post, right?
The higher it gets, the more difficult it becomes to cooch. If I was an amateur paper maker, I wouldn't want to make a post of any more than 25. That's when it starts to get high enough that your drop-offs start becoming too steep. Registration becomes a big issue.